to Eric's podcast. Dive into conversations about life, family, and business with your host, Eric. Whether you're looking for practical advice, personal stories, or just a little inspiration, Eric's got you covered. Tune in every week to join the journey and get ready to elevate your game. Now, here's your host, Eric.
Hello, and welcome to another podcast episode. I'm your host, Eric. Today, we're going to be talking about when prayers feel unanswered. Understanding and trusting God's timing in the midst of silence. And what do we mean by that? Well, I think we all can kind of agree that we have prayed before and expecting that there should be some kind of, it should be done right away. We're expecting like God is a genie or something like that. And that, he'll just snap his fingers and everything will be good. Everything will be all right. And while that certainly can happen, you certainly can pray and things can change instantaneously. You can have a thought of prayer and because God knows your thoughts and he can change it right away. But sometimes we pray and we don't see the change right away. And sometimes we hear from the Lord and we expect what he's going to, we expect what he says is going to happen on our time frame and our schedule. I can give you a great example, actually, of numerous times, but let me tell you a story about how I met my beautiful wife and how we ended up getting married. So, when I was a teenager, let's say I think it was around 13 or 14. Yeah, 13 or 14. I was longing and desperate and needing and wanting to find my wife because I knew she was out there somewhere in the vast world. And I would pray and I would ask the Lord, just show me who she is. I was having I had a dream of her hand. I had a dream of the side of her face. And I would go to the spot in the forest. I had this it kind of became like almost it's not a temple. It's like I forget what those things are called, like an ancient place. But it kind of became this place where I would always go. And I would sit on this rock and I would pray and I would talk to the Lord and I would ask him various questions and various things. And one of those things was my wife. And I would pray and I'd ask the Lord, if you just tell me a time frame when I'm going to meet her, because your word is a promise, and if you tell me, then I don't have to ask you anymore. I don't have to think about it anymore. And I just know that is going to happen. And the Lord told me, he said, you will see her before your teen years end. Now, and at that time, I was 16 or 17. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds great. I can wait till then. I'm thinking 18 is when, I don't know why, but in my mind, I was just like, 18 is when my teen years end. And so this is perfect. I can wait a couple years and then I know I'm going to meet her. And every time I had the thought of, oh, is that actually gonna happen or anything like that, I could always go back to that promise and wait. And let me tell you, you guys, the doubt, the want for me to disbelieve, and the thoughts and everything of, oh, that you didn't really hear that, you didn't, that wasn't really God, and all this stuff all crept in and kept coming in. That's why it's important to record whenever you actually have heard something from the Lord. Always record it. Always. Write it on paper, record it, an audio file, something. Anyway, so when I was 18, at the end of 18 in December, I was back at my spot talking to the Lord. I was saying, Lord, I'm 18 now, and it's the end of the year. I haven't seen her yet. And he's like, you will meet her before your teen years. He repeated the same thing, that you will see her before your teen years have ended. And I'm like, then I thought about it. Oh, 19. Of course. Okay, well, next year. This is great. And so we got January and February and March, and at the time I was in a ballet company, and we fun fact, I used to be a dancer, but ballet dancer to be specific. But I was in a ballet company, and we were going to do this charity event in Atlanta. And so I didn't want to ride in the bus with all the girls going down there. So my brother and I, we flew to Atlanta, got a hotel and everything. And there was the first night, it was kind of like a convention type of thing. And we were going to perform the next day. And there was a worship thing going on across the street with the event and everything, which was interesting and fun. And then the next day, we were there all getting set up and everything. And I was sitting at this table with the rest of my company and everybody. And this girl walks up on the stage to do her bit. And I'm watching her, and it is like a lightning bolt hit me. It was like an moment, and I was like starting to tear up, and it's just, I cannot believe my eyes. I'm thinking, that is my wife right there. And it was as if I had already known her. It was as if I had known her my whole life. It was as if we have always been one. And it's like my second half is just showed up. And at the same time, the prophecy that the Lord gave me came flooding back. And everything was just brighter, and I could hardly breathe. And then she walked off stage and sat down at our table. And I can't speak. I'm just staring at her. And I can barely move. And she thought I was like a weirdo, because she's not getting the same reaction. But I'm thinking this is I don't even know what to do here. And I got a car ride back, and I was just crying the whole time. I cried all in the shower that night, just praising the Lord, thanking him for how good he is and how great he's been. And yeah, and so after that conference, and it so happened that she actually rode in the van. She was a part of our group this whole time, which I never knew. But she rode in the van, and she turns out that she lives an hour away from me. And so basically, we live in North Carolina in a small town called Boone, and she lives an hour away from me, and it took going to Atlanta. Anyway, so on top of that, she owns a dance studio, and she needs somebody to play Joseph, and we were introduced and everything. And so it's like, of course I'm going to accept. And so I went and did that, and that was great. And my approach at that time, after I gathered some of my senses, was I was going to befriend her, because I didn't want to just rush in and rush everything. So I was going to befriend her, and I was going to take things slow, because I didn't want to, I wanted to be a gentleman and polite and all of that. And well, it turns out, and so of course I'm praying, and I'm trying to do things in a proper way, while also not going like crazy, because she's my wife. And but so then this other guy somehow comes into the picture, and turns out she was actually looking for more, like she was looking to get into a relationship, because she had just gotten out of another one. And well, not just, she had taken some time, but she was she's making moves because she wanted to get married at some point. And anyways, I'm also younger than her too, so that probably played a little bit in there. But this other chap came into the picture, and she's like, will you come meet this cool guy, and I want to get your opinion on him, or something like that, because we were friends at that time. And yes, I know I've friended myself. Friended myself on purpose. Okay, guys, this is my first. I'm trying. Okay, anyway. So I went with them. We went over. We did a hiking thing, and it was pretty, let's just say, tight. Like there was this tenseness in the air. He was, for some reason, I don't know if he was intimidated by me or if I was just annoying. That could have been it. That could have been it. Either way, it was working, I think. So that went fine. And then after that day, so then there was a kind of like a pageant play type of thing going on, a reenactment in the woods. And so we went over there, and I had some kind of moment where she went off to go see her parents, and then I pegged him up against a tree. And I said, "Are your intentions for Sarah Jane to marriage or not?" And he's looking at me, and he's just like, "Oh, it's to marriage." And I'm thinking, okay. And so that day, after they had left, Sarah Jane and I was like, I need to talk to you. I have something I need to tell you. And this whole time, I know she's my wife. I know I'm going to marry this person. And this goes back into God's timing. This whole thing goes back into the beginning of this episode, God's timing. And and so I'm like feeling like, well, I need to tell her. I need to like tell her what this is about, like what what's going on, and all this. So we went down to the creek, and we found this really pretty, peaceful place. And that's when I laid it all on her. I told her the whole story that I just told you, with the teen years ended, and how I know you're going to be my wife someday. And I was trying to take things easy and trying to just be friends and take things slower, but if you want to choose Ian, then I'll respect your decision, but I will be here for you always. Something like that. And we're both tearing up and stuff. Well, I'm tearing up way more. She's just kind of stunned at the whole, doesn't know what to say. Very awkward moment for her. At least that's the way I think. But anyway, she ended up choosing Ian. I went into this like swirling, I don't know what to do, what is going on. Went back to my spot where God told me that prophecy at the beginning. I went back to my spot and I cried out to him. I was like, Lord, what is happening? What is going on? And I'm like, I know she's my wife. I know that. And then, and I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear any response from him. There was nothing. It was just silence and peacefulness. And I kept going back there. And I realized I am willing to wait for her. And that was my resolve. I am willing to wait for her. I know the Lord's promise will come true. I know that she is my wife. I know that's her. I'm willing to wait for her, even if it means marrying her in my old age. I will do that. And so, 2 years later of waiting and growing and still interacting with her, this wasn't like a clean cut, because we're still friends, and we still did dance stuff together. And I would see Ian here and there in the coffee shop, and all this stuff. He did not like me. It's very clear. And then, so 2 years later, 2 years of long waiting, I was invited to a friend's wedding, and she was invited also. I knew she was too. And we got to the wedding. I was talking to some friends and this and that. I am 22, 21. I think I'm 22 at that time, but 21 or 22. But I'm talking to friends and stuff. She walks in without Ian. I turn and look at her, and again, it was like, oh my goodness, oh my, where? And then I instantly put the pieces together, and I can't keep my eyes off of her. And my friend slowly just kind of walks away, gets the picture, and I'm talking to her. And I start hopping, like, not hopping off the ground, but more like lifting up on my heels at the same time. And I'm getting so happy. Like, because I'm thinking, he's not in the picture anymore. This is coming to pass again. Like, is this the time? Is this it? And we go and we talk, and her side of the story is she just got dumped via a letter personally left on her doorstep. Like, the guy drove an hour down to her house to drop off a letter, and she was in the house, and he knew she was in the house, and then went and then drove back. So it's kind of like, anyways, she's devastated. I'm jumping up and down with glee. She's about to slap me in the face and walk away, but she didn't. And I was like, I need to get myself together. This is not appropriate. And so we go and we sit down in a common room. This is all during the wedding reception, by the way. And we talk, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to screw this up. This is my chance. This is it. I have to get my, bootstraps and get going and get on the horse, and this is it. This is it. And so I'm talking to her. She wants to have a break. She wants to have a rest period, a rest time from any kind of relationships or anything. And I'm like, I completely support that. I think that's a great idea. But I have to still be involved somehow. So she owned a dance studio at the time, and I owned a website agency at the time. And so I offered to do her website for free. And I would help her do a logo and do all that, help elevate her dance studio. But really, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I could use this maybe to better the friendship. And then potentially, because listen, I love her. I want to marry her. I know she's my wife. And she always has been. And so I knew that was the time. That was it. That was ready for, it was time. And believe it or not, up to that point, up to the wedding, I had just become okay being single. Like, yes, I knew that she was my wife, and I knew that I was going to marry her someday. Did not know the time frame, and that's what you have to realize. God's timing is not our timing. That's why it's helpful to get a promise from him, because you know it's going to be fulfilled. But it doesn't mean you're going to live to see it be fulfilled. And except in the cases like this. But anyway, so I started working on her website. And during that time, I got bombarded with so much temptation to doubt the promise that the Lord gave me. Bombarded to doubt that I was actually going to marry her. Bombarded to doubt that she wasn't actually my wife, and she didn't want anything to do, like she wasn't ever going to marry me, and that wasn't good enough for her, which that one's semi-true. Probably not at the time, maybe not now. But And it always came back. And I would have to just repeat the same thing. No, the Lord said, she is my wife. No, the Lord's promises are true and they always come true. And no, his word does not go out without void. It was constant. And what didn't help was meeting with Sarah Jane, helping her with her website. That's backfiring on me because I'm like self-torturing myself because I'm meeting with her and it's like she's keeping her distance and it's just this whole thing. And then 6 months later, it came down to the two of us sitting on a riverbed, or the side of the river, talking, and I don't remember the specifics of what was actually discussed. Maybe she does. And we can ask her to go over her story when she gets on the podcast in another episode. But there is something like I said, I wish I could remember. But there was some kind of altercation. Something that was not an argument, but kind of a, we're looking for that, what's that word? Either you do this or I'll do this or something like that. I forget what the word is, but it was something like that at the end. And she chose to go the other way. And I'm just thinking, oh my goodness, I need to go. And so I need to remove myself from this whole scene. I need a break. So I left and ended up going to the beach. At the time, we rented a beach house there. My family rented a beach house there. And so I went to the beach and was just frustrated and angry at myself for like how much I screwed everything up, and maybe she's not really my wife, and maybe this whole thing really is. You see what happened just now? All of that temptation, all of that disbelief, all of that everything. I had let it come in. And now it's just cascading and ravaging and trying to take over. And I'm doubting myself, and I'm just I'm incredibly sad at the same time because I'm starting to believe the thought of maybe she's not actually my wife. Maybe I didn't actually hear him correctly. All this stuff. And I was at the beach for 2 days. And then I get a random call from a really good friend, a pastor in Asheville. And it was Mr. Fine. And Mr. Fine called me. And he's like, I'm going to be in town. Oh, okay, that's what happened before this. So at that 2 days, I was crying to the Lord. I was like, Father, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I've messed everything up. I am sorry for doubting you, but I don't know how to fix this. Can you please send me someone or just tell me what I need to do because I don't know. It was something like that. And then the next day, I get a call from Mr. Fine saying that he's in town and he feels like, he's in town on a work thing and he would love to hang out with me and for a couple days. Do you mind if I come over and we can hang out? And it was like the answer to prayer. That's another good thing for timing, guys. The Lord does show up. And so Mr. Fine came over and I was thinking, this is it. He has the message that the Lord wants to tell me. Does he even know what's even going on? And so we cooked out. It was great. We had some salmon and everything. We went out on the beach. And I told him everything that had happened. And he said something like, it's going to be okay. I felt like the Lord told me to call you to see if you were in town, because I had told nobody that I was there. And I wish I could remember exactly what he said to me, but I can't. I don't know exactly what he said to me. But he said exactly what I needed to hear. And it was something to the equivalent of, you got this. You are mighty and you are strong. You are a warrior and you can go and conquer this. You can go after her. You can run after her. And, and that completely changed it. And I left with just completely renewed. And it was a complete reset. And it was, the Lord's promises are true. And they are going, and they will be fulfilled. And I went after her, and as soon as I got back, obviously things didn't obviously get all cherry and rainbows, but I got back, I messaged her, I apologized, and apologized for the whatever happened there on the shore. And it's like, I want to be friends again. I really do love you. And even if you don't want to get married, or I think it was something like, even if you don't want to marry me, I will still always be your friend and love you still. Something like that. And we became friends again. We got all made up. And then in August, at some point, in a field with yellow flowers, almost like yellow daisies, we made it official, and we were officially dating. And boom. 6 months later, not 6 months, in December, I asked her to marry me. And she said yes. And we got married 4 months later. And that is a whole other journey in itself. And that's how it all started. And so that are some of the best examples of waiting and listening and God's timing. So whatever you might be going through, or whatever God has promised you, keep waiting. Waiting on Him. Wait on the Lord. And that's it, guys. So thank you for listening. And I hope this was encouraging. And I hope it was great. Okay, see ya. Bye. One last thing. What you're about to hear is a audio recording that I made during that period of time where I was making Sarah Jane's website, in which the temptation was so strong to disbelieve the Lord's promise to me that out of defiance, I made a recording stating that I would marry her, and this is the recording. Hello, Sarah Jane. This is Eric. I mean, obviously, I know you know that. This recording is in July of 2016. And I decided to make these because, or all of these future recordings, because not only as a proof to how good God is and how He keeps His promises and how prophecies are true and they will be fulfilled, but also just so I can tell you how much you do mean to me and how I wish that we could have, or I could have started this whole thing a lot sooner to be with you longer. But, yeah, and the other reason is because I have no idea how long I will be here. So, so I want to take every moment, every opportunity that I have, even if you're not necessarily here, to tell you how much I love you and how much you mean to me.
Welcome to Eric's podcast. Dive into conversations about life, family, and business with your host, Eric. Whether you're looking for practical advice, personal stories, or just a little inspiration, Eric's got you covered. Tune in every week to join the journey and get ready to elevate your game. Now